Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's CRETech Virtual Demo Day. My name is Ashkan Zandia, Chief Intelligence Officer here at CRETech, and I'm excited to be your host. Today, we will hear from 6 of the most innovative real estate technology companies in the built world. For anyone that has never attended our Virtual Demo Day, a CRETech Virtual Demo Day is a digital presentation of innovative technology and tech-enabled solutions addressing a multitude of challenges in the greater real estate industry. Each company will present for approximately 15 to 20 minutes, followed by 10 to 15 minutes of audience Q&A, where you, the audience, will have an opportunity to ask questions. If you have any questions, please submit them via the Q&A button located at the bottom of your page. Questions submitted via the chat feature will not be addressed, so please submit your questions via the Q&A button. Additionally, questions are on a first-come, first-served basis, so please submit your questions early and often. If you're a technology company that would like to present at our next virtual demo day, or if you would like to use the power of CRETech to be featured in an exclusive co-produced webinar on a topic of your choice to showcase your company's expertise, please email me at ash@cretech.com. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce the first company, the Detection Group. Lori Connor is the president and CEO of the Detection Group. Lori is the president and CEO, and the company is located in Silicon Valley. Lori comes with a BSE from Duke in Civil and Environmental Engineering, an MSc from Stanford in Environmental Engineering, and an MBA from Harvard. Having worked in the C-suite of several Silicon Valley tech companies, including Raychem, which invented wired leak detection, she is currently focused on the development of IoT cloud-based wireless systems to control and protect commercial buildings from water damage. You'll hear why remote sensing is even more important now when skeleton crews and fewer tenants are the norm. Without further ado, it's my pleasure to introduce Lori Connor. Lori, the digital stage is now yours.
Thank you so much, Ash. I appreciate the invitation to be here and to talk about this important topic. And I'm going to share my screen right now. And also, just wanted to turn my video on so you could see, connect a face with a name, but I'm hoping to be able to stop the video. So I'm sure that I've got the most bandwidth because I'm sitting here at home. I want to thank all of you that are joining us from the East Coast during your lunch hour and from the West Coast in the morning and everywhere in between. I'm going to talk to you this morning about cloud-based IoT, which of course is Internet of Things, water leak detection for commercial properties. The agenda this morning is first, we're going to tell you a little bit about who we are and what we do as a company, and then really focus on the problem of water damage in commercial buildings and the issues. Sorry, I don't know if this is the issues of water damage and the solution, which is our Trident system, which is currently and very recently FM approved. And we're going to go through a few applications and a case study, and then I'll leave time for questions and comments from all of you. What we do, so the Detection Group provides a cloud-based IoT platform to monitor commercial properties for water leaks. And we're focused on that right now because our customers think that this is an important problem, that is protecting the asset. In the near future, we're going to be adding other kinds of wireless endpoints, including water temperature, water humidity in the room, water flow, and such. We like to call this solution the smoke detector for water. That I think gives a lot of people an instant understanding of what we do in commercial buildings. We're not a startup. We're on our 3rd generation of water leak detection system. So we think we understand this application better than anyone in the world. We have over 400 buildings installed across the US. We're protecting those buildings with, it's even more than 35,000 sensors right now today, and protecting over $50 billion of property. So really what we do is we help you minimize the risk of damage in your buildings. I'm very proud to show you this stellar list of customers who employ our solution to protect their buildings. And these are premier, if you're in the commercial real estate business, you understand who these people are. There's the premier owners, property managers, third-party engineering firms, and more recently, we've seen corporate entities using our system to protect either their suites or their entire buildings. And if you find your company on this list, but you don't have our system, you might call us because we have perhaps a special arrangement with your company. If you don't find your company on this list, you might ask yourself, what do they know that I don't about this, about the problem of water damage? Water damage is the #1 cause of property loss claims every year in buildings. It's around a $10 billion a year problem. It's not just the dollar amount that's the issue, it's also the frequency of events as well as the cost of the claims. So water events, water leaks are way more frequent than other kinds of risks, and it's larger than fire and theft combined, and many people are surprised to hear that. From our insurance partners, we hear that an average claim in a commercial building costs $90,000. And I can tell you in most, except for the very, very tall buildings, our system generally costs less than that to install. So you can see that what we tell customers is that the avoidance of one average leak pays for the system itself at one time. As you know, mold can happen with a very small amount of water in certain climates, and mold can add literally 10 times the cost to clean up of a water leak. And the unfortunate part, Dr. Murphy is in our camps, that leaks happen 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and almost every building will have leaks. There are some buildings that have higher risk for water damage, and some of these are obvious and some not so obvious. And of course, if you've got an older building, 20 years and plus, you've got aging equipment that is more prone to damage, to leaking and damaging your building. Not so obvious is new construction, but in fact, newer buildings have a shakedown period that many of you know in the CRE world. And this is where your new systems are not quite installed properly, or they're a little bit leaky, and we catch leaks frequently in brand new buildings. Low occupancy, either buildings or in low occupancy rooms, such as mechanical rooms where you don't have people that are in there all the time, are more prone to leaks, and also larger leaks. In the case of mechanical rooms, you've got big equipment in there. Raised floor construction, also, that's a theme here. You don't see it. So in raised floor construction, you have piping and electrical or communication cables running under the floor. And if you have a leak, you really can't see it until it can become a disastrous problem. Pharma and medical buildings, of course, and this includes hospitals, have highly expensive equipment, and also sometimes irreplaceable samples, research samples. And there's water flowing around, either cooling that equipment, and so they're more prone to large losses from water. High rises with multiple tenants, because you don't know who's above you or below you. Exposure to seasonal extremes. We don't have this problem in Silicon Valley too much, but if you're in the northern regions, you have, pardon me, you have cold temperatures that can freeze pipes and cause water damage. Deferred maintenance kind of goes without saying. And lastly, multifamily residential, because you have many more sources of water on a given floor than in a commercial property. I want to just speak a few minutes about water damage during this time of pandemic, right? So The first thing I want to say is that leaks don't know we're in a crisis, right? Leaks happen all the time, as I mentioned, and even when there's few people in the building. And really, when you have an idle building, you have an increased risk for having a catastrophic water leak. You know, partly because you have a fewer staff, you have a skeleton crew in the building, and you know, tenants, there are fewer of them to, you know, who might notice a leak in the restroom if they go there or whatever. So that's the first issue. And then the other issue is, even if you do have even if you have instructed your skeleton, one of your engineers, to walk around and open doors and look in areas that, you know, there aren't people, to make sure there's no leaks in there, that's not really a viable option anymore, because now you're asking this person to enter an unoccupied space, which you may need to re-disinfect because a human has gone in there. And so it really does make sense, you know, not just for water leaks, but for other kinds of solutions as well, to use cloud-based IoT solutions. For in the world of water, though, our solution is, we call it the Trident System. And I'm happy to report to you that we are the first and only wireless water leak detection system to receive FM approval. And for those of you, many of you may know who FM is. FM is one of the largest global commercial property insurance carriers, and they are known for providing their clients with engineering solutions to reduce risk. So they have thoroughly tested and approved our system for this commercial application. Let's talk about the system. It's actually pretty straightforward. The first thing that's important to know is that on the left, you have a typical commercial building, and we first install what we call a wireless backbone. It's an RF backbone. I want to just mention that we do not use Wi-Fi within a building. Wi-Fi is not an appropriate frequency for a commercial building application. There's a number of reasons for that. One of the big ones is the range. As many of you know, the range of Wi-Fi is very short, so it can't penetrate through walls in a commercial building. It can't go very far in a commercial building. The other reason that Wi-Fi is an always-on technology, so battery-operated devices they go through their batteries pretty quickly. And then finally, of course, is security. Those devices are more prone to hacking. We use an RF signal, and what we do is we install this RF backbone, which you see with a smart base station at the bottom of the building, and the yellow or green devices are what we call communication hubs. They're typically every other floor in a building, depending on what your building design is, and they provide the communication network in the building. Very important. And then we have right now two basic endpoints. One is a wireless battery-operated sensor, which has an ability to sense water anywhere in a building. You can add a sensing cable to it to increase the sensing range of that sensor. And we also provide wireless valve controllers and motorized valves that will sense water and shut the water off. On the right of the screen is what happens when a leak occurs. When a leak occurs and the sensor sends a message through the hub, through the wireless backbone, down the building to the base station, which is the only device connected to the internet. The internet is connected either by Ethernet, that's the primary, or we also have a cellular backup or cellular option. And three things happen simultaneously. First, a phone call is made typically it's to the security desk, because leaks happen at all times of the day or night. And simultaneously, notifications are sent via text and email to as many people the building wants to notify. And this information and the phone call says, you have a leak on the 14th floor, suite 1402, under the kitchen sink. The first responder acknowledges the phone call and starts going up to the 14th floor, opens suite 1402, hears the audible, and under the sink, leans down and presses the silence button on that sensor. That is a really important feature and function of a commercial grade leak detection system, because that now sends a second message that says, I have to everybody on the list that says, oh, I've had a leak, you know, at 7:03 p.m. and it was acknowledged at 7:08 p.m. So that means a human is there addressing the problem. Critically important for an enterprise level application. And then the other aspect of our system is that, of course, each building or portfolio of buildings has a management platform, a secure management platform that I'll show you in a little while, where they can create reports and other things. This is really a commercial grade system. It's not, you know, there's a lot of other leak detection systems out there, and I like to call them imposters, if you will. This is each device that is plug powered has internal battery backup. So if the power goes out in the building, you know that the system is going to work. And as I mentioned, we also have communication backup via cellular. This is what a real-time alert leak message looks like. It provides the specific area of the leak and the time and date stamp. A little bit about the Trident management platform. This is an example of what you would see if you signed on to your specific dashboard. This is an actual building, so you can see we monitor every single piece of equipment in the building that we provide. So this one has a smart base station, 4 hubs, 106 sensors, 8 valve controllers, and 9 valves. You'll notice that there's more valves and valve controllers because one can put up to 2 valves can be controlled by a single valve controller. And we monitor this equipment for 3 main things. One, of course, is a water alarm, and that is pushed immediately via the notification that I just described. We also monitor each device for lost communication and for battery status. So you will get a message if your device has lost communication for whatever reason, as well as if your batteries need changing. We provide the customer with not only a low battery status, but also a critical battery status. Low battery means you need to change it within the next several months. And so typically our customers will put that as part of the program maintenance. You can see on the left-hand side, there's a navigation pane that allows you to get very detailed in terms of each device. You can look at the history of leaks for a particular area. You can create reports on this building versus your other buildings in your portfolio, and all sorts. You can change the notification group. So if you only want if George goes on vacation for a week, you can take him off the list, and so on. This is an example of a water leak message. So we're not just saying, hey, you got a leak out there, see you later. We provide very detailed information about what's happening. First, you get a time and date stamp of when the water alarm is detected. Then, as I mentioned earlier, you have also a time and date stamp when a human has silenced that alarm. So you have a human at the location fixing or dealing with that leak. We tell you when the leak has cleared, that is, no more water is touching that sensor. And then finally, we have a reset capability. If you have cleaned up the water and you want to reset the device so it's ready to sense again, you press that button again for 10 seconds and it will manually reset it. If you forget to do that because you're dealing with all sorts of other things in a building, it will automatically reset at 30 minutes. And this and many other variables are adjustable in the portal. It's an accessible, so this is not an app. This is a cloud-based platform, but what's important for you to know, it's really platform agnostic. So whether you're looking at this platform from your PC, from your desktop, from your laptop, from your iPad, or from your mobile device, you can manage your building remotely, and that's really, really important, and especially in this time of COVID. These are some examples of buildings that we installed recently. I'm proud of the one on the left, even though it's only a 12-story building. This is the home of IBM Watson on the East Coast, so we could say that we're protecting IBM's Watson, West Coast Watson. A couple of buildings here, one in Chicago, 300 North LaSalle. We just recently completed 5 Post Oak in Houston, and then 4 Spectrum in Irvine. And then a few other applications or buildings below 50 cal, which is a 37-story building we installed in March, and we've already caught several leaks for them, one of which the engineer told us would have started in a restroom and would have on a Friday night, and would have gone down to the lobby. It started in a restroom on the 17th floor, I might add, and would have gone to the lobby before anybody noticed it. 100 Hooper on the left-hand side is the San Francisco home of Adobe. Now to a few applications. Where do you put these sensors? These are some, maybe some of you recognize these areas. These are pump areas, pump room areas, and you can see the circle. We've encircled the sensor, and you can perhaps see the sensing cable. For large areas like this, we like to use a sensing cable because it extends the range of the leak. Some other for the fire pump areas where you have a sensor with a cable attached, so you can sense anywhere along the length of that cable. This is an interesting application where we have an HVAC drain pan above a main switchgear room, and perhaps you've experienced water in your switchgear, which is typically in the basement of most buildings. It's not a pretty thing, and it's also a very dangerous and very expensive thing to fix. So that's a great application for sensing for water sensors. This is a typical tenant application where you have, it's under a tenant kitchen, you have on the right on the floor both a valve controller and a sensor controlling the valve on the upper left. So if that sensor senses water, it will shut that valve. Restroom application, you can see, it's hard to see the sensors, one behind the toilet there. And interestingly, one at the door. So you might see the engineer, if the one behind the toilet starts to alarm, then it's going to, he's going to walk up there. But if the one by the door is alarming, he's going to run, because that means that water is going to go into the tenant space. Really proud about this this installation. We have our system throughout Salesforce Tower. It's the tallest building west of Chicago. It's 100% raised floor. So we've actually helped them protect both above the floor and below the floor in certain areas. There are about 350 endpoints throughout this building. That's both sensors and valve controllers. And since January, we've caught around 40 leaks in this building. Now, half of them are from a living wall areas that are in certain areas of the building, and half of them are from the other tenant spaces like pantry and restroom. And let's just assume that those living wall areas are from just people maybe overwatering or something. So there's only 20 leaks. But if you take that and you multiply it times that average number that the commercial carriers, insurance carriers say, we're talking about $1.8 million in potential cost savings in that one building since the beginning of the year. This is another installation. We don't just do tall buildings, we also do campuses. And in this campus, 8-building campus, 4 to 6 stories in each building, we've sensed 35 leaks over 8 buildings. So that's 4 leaks a building, or around $360,000 in property damage avoided. So in summary, I think that all buildings should be protected against water damage, and that's why we call this the smoke detector for water. And especially in this time of COVID, there are increased risks in buildings with that are older or in brand new construction that have raised floors, and also that have high value equipment. And our Trident system is really the only wireless water leak detection system that is FM approved. And I'd like to just close with, to thank you all for listening. And I'd like to offer you a special offer. If you contact us at this link and place an order through the end of the year, we'll provide this discount to you. All you need to do is enter this code. So thank you, Ash, and I'm open for questions.
Thank you, Lori. And I also just copied and pasted what you have on your screen right now in our chat features. So if anyone would like to reach out and like to learn more, please click on the link in the chat feature. I see that we do have a few questions, so let's just kind of just jump right into it. The first question I see here from an audience member has to do with your the technology itself. Is it microphone / sonar based?
No, we sense water. This is actually a contact sensor. So we're sensing actually the water that's puddling up on the floor. So it's not listening to anything. It's actually protecting the asset. And in order to protect the asset, the water has to come out of the pipe, so to speak.
Awesome. Another question that came in from the audience, wondering if buildings get an insurance rate reduction. Now, from the best of your knowledge, do you know, do you think that there's a reduction in an insurance rate
Yes.
with the Trident system installed like this?
Yes, depending on who insures your building, I know that some, and I'm happy to talk to you more about which carriers I know do this, but they'll either lower the deductible, right, or give you a premium discount. And we know some instances where they've already done this, and it just depends on your policy and what it says. But yes, because it certainly helps the insurance carrier to have the system as well.
Yeah. I have another question came through regarding multifamily. I absolutely can see this in legacy older buildings, especially in this city. I'm in New York, and you can just imagine the aging infrastructure and these multifamily assets, especially the stabilized driven assets. Curious question came. I'm just going to actually a couple questions came in, so I'm just going to combine these questions. One, how easy is it to install in individual units? And then two, how do you safeguard against tampering?
Right. So generally we want to protect the whole building, right? So if you put one of these systems in your condo unit, your apartment unit, you're not protecting yourself, you're protecting the people below you, right? So you actually want to buy a system for the people above you to protect you. So you really want to have and encourage your building manager to install this in the whole building. So what we would do is install the backbone, and that generally doesn't go in your unit. So that would be the part that we would install or a professional would install. And then the homeowner can put the sensors in their building and connect them. It's pretty simple to do that. And the second part of the question was tampering. So, you don't want to remove the system. So typically we don't tell people to pick them up, right? That's why there's a button. And what we do say is that the system will alarm, say you hit against it with a mop, right? So if you have a cleaning lady or cleaning person comes in, if you do that, she has 15 seconds to press that button, and it silences and no messages are sent. So that's a way to kind of minimize false alarms.
Nice. And then another question, and last question for today is and for anyone, there's actually a lot of questions that came in. So for anyone that we don't have a chance to actually get to your questions, I will share the questions with Lori and we can have a conversation offline. But last question regarding distance, what is a typical distance for range of coverage using radio?
Yeah, so RF is typically, so the maximum is around 300 feet obstructed, that's within a building. So typically what we see is more like 150 to 200 feet. So it's usually pretty, more than sufficient for most commercial buildings.
Great. Actually, we do have time for one more. Many commercial real estate tech companies rely on third-party data to run their business. Basic things like building addresses and contact names, to very detailed information on mortgages, etc. Do you have / own any valuable data on your clients' buildings?
Yeah, the data.
I'm sure you do. Yeah.
So we don't, take any personal information. So we don't have anybody's credit card information or anything like that. But we do know how many leaks the buildings had, where they are, how fast they responded to them, how big the leak was, these kinds of things. That's very valuable, not only to the insurance carrier to lower your insurance rates or increase them, if you don't have a system, but it also adds a lot of value to you, because you can determine, historically, which areas have had more leaks, so you can focus on those areas in terms of maintenance. So there's a lot of benefit to the data. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. And so that's all the time we have for today's presentation. Up next is Cassius from Smarking. So we'll give Cassius a few minutes to log in and get set up. But Lori, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for a wonderful presentation.
Well, thanks very much, Ash, and thank you all. I'm happy to answer any questions at a later date.
Thank you.